Welcome back everybody to Moderate Mods, and today we're taking a look at the 1996 Chevrolet Impala Supersport. So yeah, like every other episode, we're going to be giving this car some upgrades. But first we're going to go around the circuit and see what this car can do in its stock form. And yeah, in a lot of ways this is actually rather similar to the Ford Crown Victoria that we did a couple of episodes ago, as it is an American four-door rear-wheel drive saloon car that has yeah, a V8 engine, a 4-speed automatic gearbox, and pretty similar weight and power. It's also really rather similar in terms of its weight distribution, as we'll take a look in a second. So yeah, it's got 55 front and 45 rear weight distribution, the exact same as the Ford Crown Victoria. It's got 10 extra horsepower and 33 extra pounds-feet of torque from its 5.7 litre V8 engine, and it weighs 20 pounds less at 4,037 pounds. So yeah, extremely similar, although Forza says that the handling and braking is slightly worse than the Crown Vic, but I think that's purely down to the gearbox between the two of them being different. As yeah, as we'll see when we get going in this, it's a little bit more charismatic. Sorry, it's a lot more charismatic in terms of its gearbox and its engine. It's nowhere near as low revving as the Ford, as this goes up to about 6,000, whereas the Ford was about 5.5. And yeah, the gearbox is a little bit better in terms of its ratios, but is nonetheless still a 4-speed automatic, so it's certainly not getting the best out of its really rather large engine. And it also weighs still a fair bit, more than 4,000 pounds. Is still ridiculously heavy, and obviously it's because it's such a large car. But obviously we've got to change the size of the car, but we will definitely be changing the weight of the thing, and in particular the gearbox. As you can see, we're in a second and we're still doing more than 80 miles an hour. We were before it hit that wall. Which yeah, means that it's got really rather long gear ratios, but they do still at least feel better than the Ford. And because it's got a larger engine with a little bit more power and a fair bit more torque, it does feel a lot quicker in terms of acceleration. At the end of the day, it's still remarkably similar to the Ford, which some people would probably not be expecting, considering this is obviously a SS version of a standard car, whereas the Ford Crown Victoria is just the Ford Crown Victoria. It's not a special version of another Ford at all. So yeah, the fact that this special edition version of an Impala is pretty much literally the same is yeah, pretty surprising. But a solid time there, 1 minute 19.847 for our first lap. We'll undoubtedly improve upon that because we're now on our flying lap. Yeah, it's still a hefty car to get around a circuit. It's certainly by no means the best handling vehicle that we've ever had on this series so far. And yeah, there's definitely some improvements that can be made. But on the whole, I do think it is a better car than the Ford. Just because it's got that bit extra power, bit extra torque, slightly less in the way of weight, so it's not quite as much of a hefty beast to get around any corners. But it's still saddled with the same problems as that Ford, weight and gearbox, which despite obviously being better on this, is still not as good as it could be. Smash our first time lap time at 1 minute 14.174. Let's see if we can go for the get a third lap in that's quicker, which hasn't been always the case. Seems to have a fair bit of understeer on this car as well, which I think was a problem also with the Ford. I guess it's because of how much weight is up front. That's why it's so understeery. We're gonna smash our second lap time though. There we go, 1 minute 12.272 seconds, which is fairly good to be honest. Not sure if that's actually quicker than the Ford was on its best lap in stock form, but nonetheless that is still a good time. But we obviously do have some improvements to be made to this car, because like I said, the gearbox is still not quite good enough and the weight is quite heavy, and yeah, I think we can solve the weight issues by obviously reducing the weight a little bit, but also by giving this car a little bit of power. But nonetheless, let's get into the garage and see what we can do to this vehicle to make it a better car. So here is the car in all its glory. As you can see, it is a cavernous car for interior space and boot space. So that's yeah, an advantage in one regard as an everyday car, but also a disadvantage because it means it weighs a hell of a lot. But before we get to the upgrades, let's take a look at what this car can do in terms of acceleration. So yeah, 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, which is pretty decent. 0 to 117.9, and it was a top speed of 140 miles an hour, which isn't great. It's actually slightly less than the Ford Crown Vic, but I predict that this car will be able to get up to that speed a lot better than the Crown Victoria, because as we saw when we were in that car, once we got into 4th gear, that car was really rather slow in terms of gaining any more speed. So yeah, that's just the way it is. So yeah, we're going to go with handling first. I'm going to give it some better tyres. I think we'll go for 305s, and 325s look like the better ones, to be honest. Don't want them too wide because that's just more expense and weight. Yeah, we'll go 325s. We'll go for the widest ones up front though, because yeah, this car was quite an understeering kind of car. And then for more weight knocks off, let's go for street clutch. Sport suspension to increase the amount of gears that we can play with. We'll give it a racing driving line to knock out even more weight. We'll go for street brakes. We'll go for street suspension. We'll go for sporty anti-roll bars, just to go for the match the street suspension. Because the anti-roll bars will be a little bit stiffer, but the suspension will be still quite soft, so it will not negatively impact the ride too much. Then we'll knock out a bit of weight by taking out the spare wheel, reduce battery size and any tools, so that takes us down another £109, which is pretty good. Right, in terms of power, well, we do tend to like to go for street on sporty kinds of intakes and the like, so we'll go for them. Go for sport manifold. Does that take us up to? We'll not bother with the fuel system for now. We'll go for a street ignition. It's not massively bumping up the horsepower, but it's going up enough, especially now that we're reduced in weight. The good thing about doing the exhaust though as well is that it not only increases the power, as you can see, but it also reduces the weight by a significant margin. We've gone down from £3,933 to only 3,884, while also going up 7 extra horsepower. So yeah, that's pretty good. So 280 there. We'll increase the engine size as well, but we'll just bump it up to 3.8 litres, because we can go all the way to 6.2, but 3.8 sounds like a decent round number there. Now for the fuel system. I like to have it a round number, to be honest. Let's go for a fuel system that is a racing kind of fuel system, but we'll also then go for a sporty ignition, and we'll go for street valves as well. Round it off at 300 horsepower and 380 pounds-feet of torque. And like the exhaust, improving that, doing the valves also has some impact on the weight. Not enough to knock it down another pound, but I imagine it's taking out some weight. It's just not measurable to how this measures weight on this game. But yeah, now it's around 300 there, and we'll get a sport flywheel as well to make the engine a bit more free revving, and there we go. Not a massive amount of extra upgrades, because we've only gone up, what, 53 PI, which isn't all that much to be honest. But we have reduced the weight, we have made the car better in terms of handling, and as we'll see by the acceleration times and the speed, hopefully made it better in terms of acceleration as well. So yeah, 5.794 seconds now to 60. So yeah, that's nearly, well, it's not far off a second quicker to 60. Not to 115.008 seconds, so we're more than 2 seconds quicker than we were before to 146 miles an hour, so about 6 miles an hour quicker at the top end. Not drastically more, but as you can see now we have, oh, we only have 4 gears still. I thought that would have given us 5, that sport transmission. I guess we're going to go for the more racing transmission then. I think this car needs the extra gear. I know it says the acceleration has gone down, but once we fiddle with the gears a little bit, it should make it better. Power and torque, and then not give it an extra gear or two to play with. So yeah, the acceleration has actually not gone any worse. Don't know why it said the acceleration was worse. So yeah, 5.691 to 60, 14.798 to 100, so we're actually even quicker now to 100, and we're 147 miles an hour. But I think we'll improve the final drive a little bit, so we're not, you know, stupidly going to 80 mile an hour, whatever, in second gear. So we've evened it out back up to 15.008 seconds to 100, but it's pretty much as quick to 60, and still does 147 miles an hour. So yeah, we'll do that. And yeah, let's get back onto the circuit and see what this car can do. Unfortunately, the servers have gone down though as while recording this, so yeah, we're gonna have to just go for solo mode and yeah, race against other cars. But no less, it's still 3 laps, and the you know, the weather hasn't changed or anything like that. So yeah, bit of a shame, but it shouldn't affect us too much badly. And yeah, we'll most likely definitely get better than the 1 minute 12.272 that we got with the stock car, but by how much we'll have to see. So yeah, let's get started. It's a bit of a shame that we're having to drive against other people, drive avatars, but yeah, should hopefully still get to see what this car's like to drive. So yeah, definitely feels quicker. So it brakes better, turns in better as well. Now we've got those wider tyres. Nowhere near as much understeer going on as there was before. We've also got more gears to play with, which is good. Get out in front of this lot, then we can have a free run at the second lap. Yeah, so much less understeer on the go. There is still a little bit of a hint of it, but nowhere near as much as before. And you can tell we're easily quicker along this straight here. So yeah, time there, 1 minute 12.840, which is very close to our fastest lap that we got in the stock car, so should easily be able to smash that in this second lap. Feels more free revving as well now we've got that lighter flywheel in. It just feels like you can truck it around a lot more as well and just be confident that the car's not going to understeer or do anything else handling wise that you don't want it to do. Annihilate our best time. They're 1 minute 8.502. That's nearly 4 seconds quicker. These wider tyres there keep giving us the grip that we need. Especially now that we have a lot more in the way of horsepower and torque, though not a stupid amount. That's the whole point of this series after all, is not to go overboard. 40 extra horsepower from a now 5.8 litre engine is not ridiculous. And we've only got 50 extra pounds-feet of torque as well, so again, it's not a ridiculous amount in that regard either. Especially since the weight hasn't drastically gone down, but it's gone down enough to help us make use of this extra power. And there we go, another improvement on the time. Bit of a shame that we couldn't do it in Rivals mode, so we'd have a more clean first lap, but regardless, 1 minute 7.968 is still a really rather good time, and a more than 4-second improvement over the standard car. So yeah, not a massive improvement in terms of time, but in terms of what it can do as a car now is certainly a massive improvement, because it has nowhere near as much understeer, it's faster in a straight line, it's more responsive in terms of its revs, and yeah, it's also got more gears to play with now. So if you're on a different track that had a longer straight on it or anything like that, then you'd have more to play with in terms of gears, and obviously a higher top speed as well. So yeah, a noticeable improvement over the standard car, and yeah, not just in terms of time, but in terms of how it feels to drive as well. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.